A lot of peoples, a lot of believers, they has destroyed their iman, their fath, their belief. Listen to the Dr. Zakir Naik lectures. Yes, I'm not telling a lie. This is true. They have destroyed their fath. Firstly, you listen this hadith. After that, I will describe about it. The Prophet Muhammad says, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. The Prophet Muhammad says, no one can perfect believers until I am more beloved, his father, his parents, and his children, and all the mankind. The Prophet Muhammad says, you consider I am more beloved more than your parents, more than your children, and more than your all kinds, more than your wealth, and more than everything. You consider the Prophet Muhammad is more beloved, and your hearts fulfill the love of the Prophet Muhammad. You know, if you want to perfect believers, if someone say Allah is one, he believe the oneness of God, and say Allah is one and Allah is free from all the fault, and they have no father, no mother, he has no father, no mother. This is true, but with Allah's oneness, they have to believe on the Prophet Muhammad. If someone say La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, if they don't believe Muhammad Rasulullah, that he become a perfect believers? No, only saying Allah, no one can believers, no one can mu'min. They have to say Muhammad Rasulullah. If someone say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, but inside their heart is not the love of the Prophet Muhammad, how it can perfect believers? No. If you are pronunciating by your tongue, you have to accept by your heart these things. Muhammadur Rasulullah. Some say Muhammadur Rasulullah, but they don't believe the knowledge of unseen. They say the Prophet Muhammad has not knowledge of unseen. They have to bury it in the soul. If anyone say the Prophet Muhammad has not knowledge of unseen, they is not believers. He is not believers. No, it is present in the Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Qur'an about the Prophet Muhammad and the knowledge of Prophet Muhammad, knowledge of unseen of the Prophet Muhammad Allamahul bayan. Ar-Rahman allama al-Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught Qur'an the Prophet Muhammad and allamahul bayan. And Allah has taught to the Prophet Muhammad what has happened and what will happen. That what has happened and what will happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give whole knowledge and say وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The Prophet Muhammad is the mercy for all the world. Why they are mercy all the world? That the Prophet Muhammad the Prophet Muhammad was mercy. That person who have passed away and that person who will born, how many things will generate, will create. The Prophet Muhammad is the mercy on that person. And what will happen, what has happened and what will happen, you are mercy for both. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given you knowledge of unseen, what has happened and what will happen. If anyone say the Prophet Muhammad has not knowledge of unseen, I don't consider that person believers. And you see, they are denied to the Quran. They are permitted to the hadith. Yes, guys. And you don't, if you are showing the lectures and say Dr. Zakir Naik, and say Dr. Zakir Naik, it is a great scholar, and say, and they have memorized all the Quran and hadith, and they present reference and say chapter number 34 verse number 23. Like, you don't engage yourself, you don't incline yourself toward that person who are not perfect believers. Only by saying shaitan, you can consider shaitan, mardud, la'een. They have more knowledge. They were the teacher of the muallim and the teacher of the angels. But they show enmity, but they show jealousy, negative attitude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deprived him the honor of their court, the honor of their service. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deprived. You consider, guys, you consider that person your follower, your guider, in their hearts is the love of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so nice. Bye, see you.